Since June 9th, northern Fugan in China has been experiencing intense and continuous rainfall. These rains have increased in intensity, with accumulation in the city of Hing Jyang Ning exceeding 800 millimeters. In the entire city of Ning, precipitation has reached between 300 and 500 millimeters. In 7 rivers and the upper course of the Mang River, 13 stations surpassed the warning level 36 times in just 5 days. Fugan remains the center of heavy rainfall in the country, although rains in northern Fugan have significantly weakened. However, precipitation in western Fuking and coastal areas has intensified again. In the coastal area of Quanza Fujo, the rains have been particularly intense, with nearly 300 millimeters of water falling in some parts in just 6 hours, making it the most intense rain infusion of the year. Compared to the localized rains along the Longan coast and surrounding areas, such as Mio and Ganggu, these areas have experienced prolonged and extremely heavy rains, lasting more than 20 hours in many places. The provinces of Luping, Fugan, and Guangdong have also recorded torrential rains. The Hanning River Basin has issued flood warnings as the rain band moves northward, returning to northern Fugan tomorrow. The rains that began on June 14th have intensified, and Ning Sanji has recorded historic rainfall levels in the last 24 hours. A new wave of larger floods is brewing in the Mang River. Authorities in Wenping, Sei Shou, and Shuming have issued mobilization orders to prevent damage from extreme rainfall. The Mang River, with the largest drainage area and the highest water volume in southeastern China, is facing a critical situation. The water system in the upper reaches of the Mang River is fan-shaped, where its 3 main tributaries, Jiangxi, Funi, and Shaki, converge to form the main stream. In the Miang district, floods from several tributaries merge, creating a combined flood with a large peak downstream. Since the afternoon of June 15th, flood peaks have affected the Jiangxi and Futan River basins. At 1 a.m. on June 16th, the flood peak of the Jiangxi main stream passed through Jiang, while the Sanghi flood peak continued its course eastward. The flood peaks of the rivers are expected to meet in Jianu in the morning, and then with the Futan River peak in the Ying district. In Jianu, the current water level has exceeded the guaranteed level, approaching the flood level recorded in June 2010. However, heavy rains are expected in the next 2 days in the upper reaches of the Mang River, which may cause a new wave of floods. The flood control situation in Fugan is extremely serious. The Yangtze River is almost covered by the intense rainfall band affecting both the east and west of the region. Today at noon, a rain belt extending from southwest Shursan to northeast Yan'an covered the entire Gizajiangyi, Fugan Jijiang, and northern Guangsi. In southwestern and central China, they must be on high alert for flash floods and geological disasters caused by heavy rains in the Ming and Julong River basins in Fugan and the Hanning River Basin in Guangdong. Fortunately, in northern Fugan, a landslide that occurred in a village around 4 a.m. yesterday did not result in any loss of life thanks to a timely evacuation. Three houses were swept away, but all residents were safely evacuated. The village used excavators to help clear the property. Floods have affected many areas in Miao Guangdong, where primary and secondary schools have been closed. In Guangdong, Fugan, and Jiangxi, the rains have caused flooding in many localities. Since June 16th, these regions have faced heavy rains, floods, landslides, and other disasters. Urban and rural areas have experienced varying degrees of flooding, with roads washed away and power networks disrupted, leaving towns and cities cut off. The Central Meteorological Observatory reported heavy or intense rains in parts of central and southern Gyeonggi, southwestern Fugan, northern and eastern Guangdong, from 8 a.m. on June 16 to 6 a.m. on June 17. In Mihouse, Guangdong, the flood control emergency response level was upgraded from level 3 to level 2. Meteorological service data indicate heavy rains in Pingwin and Gulan counties in Mo-Wangdong, with very intense precipitation in many cities and villages. As of the early morning of June 17th, the red storm signal remains in effect in Pingyuan and Jeollon counties. In Meyer, 3 rivers have exceeded their water levels, and the Mo Fire Rescue Detachment has launched a rescue plan, mobilizing 20 vehicles and 174 people to respond to the emergency. Floods have caused landslides, power outages, and disrupted power networks in many cities and towns. As of 9:30 p.m. on June 16th, 1,233 people were relocated in Pangwon County, and 539 people in Jeollon County. The MA Education Office in Jing County ordered the suspension of classes in all primary schools, secondary schools, and training institutions on June 17th. Similarly, in Pingyuan County, schools and kindergartens also suspended their activities due to the emergency. According to the Hydrology Department, the Siku irrigation station in Myo recorded critical water levels, and the Mayan Huan Reservoir is expected to discharge large volumes of water, exceeding warning levels. The Guangdong region has suffered significant flooding, with major economic losses and daily life disrupted. Rescue operations are ongoing, with emergency services working tirelessly to assist those affected. Authorities are focused on clearing debris from landslides and providing aid to those in need. Images of flooded vehicles and houses highlight the power of nature and the vulnerability of the affected areas. China is also facing a heat wave in the north, with temperatures reaching 38 degrees Celsius in Beijing and Inner Mongolia. The lack of rain in the north raises concerns about agricultural production. Vice Premier Liu Gam has called for additional efforts to prevent drought, emphasizing water conservation and planting drought-resistant crops to ensure a stable harvest. This dual crisis of floods and heat waves highlights the significant challenges posed by climate change in China. The government is taking measures to mitigate these impacts, but the severity of the weather phenomena underscores the urgency of these efforts. Floods in the south have displaced thousands of people, damaged homes and infrastructure, and caused significant economic losses. The rapid response of the authorities has been crucial, but the magnitude of the disaster has made recovery efforts an ongoing challenge.